All right, so give me just 1 second. I'm gonna pull up things, ask questions. Yeah, and just like a quick aside, like being on these meetings is just these calls and watching these webinars is very awesome because very few people learn from these ideas and everything that I've learned, become a better person in my career and life and things has always been as by learning from other people. And I love teaching this stuff because I have so much experience doing this. I've been really committed to it for a long time. And in terms of running a business doing this and working with law firms and candidates and all that sort of thing. So I've had a very long career doing this, and it's nice being able to talk to people about things that are actually real, that happen, and how the market works. And I certainly wish that there was this sort of information. Well, sorry about that. Sorry, but I was muted a second ago. But what I was saying is that I think it's extremely smart being in these sorts of calls because you're learning about things that very few people know about. There's very few people in the world that do what I do. I don't know of anyone actually. What I've been doing for 25 years, and I've been a recruiter that long and learning all this stuff. And so love it. And I think it's great that you can learn from that experience. It's when you're learning this stuff, you're learning things that very few people know, and which is very literally, oops, I'm just trying to fix this here. Literally very few people in the entire world. Let me just see, I'm trying to lay this out correctly. Jeez, having a real hard time. Give me 1 second. Yeah, but you're learning things that just watching this particular webinar, if you're a candidate, you've suddenly learned what sort of where you're at in terms of the way you think about things and how, this is great. Oh, here we go. What's going to make you much more effective as an attorney, what you should be doing and or why. I was really having a hard time with this. Nope, that's not good either. Okay, I'm going to try this one more time and then okay, here we go. But all I was saying is that you're learning things that very few people in the world know. You're learning law firm, you're learning how to avoid hiring the wrong people. And if you're an attorney, you're learning that you shouldn't be putting your effort into work in the law firm when that may not be the best thing for you. And it's very important or if it is the best thing for you to realize that, because why would you waste years of your life or maybe your whole career doing something that you don't want to do because somehow, somewhere you got in your mind that you wanted to be a frickin' attorney in a law firm. And you keep doing that because you don't have any experience, because you're doing the wrong thing, like where your heart's out. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to go to the first question and I'll just work through all these. So the first one is your point that people from other practice settings do not do as well in law firms or lasting law firms. My area expertise is compliance, and I've worked in-house in regulatory positions. Your companies try to place me in law firms. Why would your company try to place me with law firms if that effort is not likely to lead to a good experience? So if you're doing compliance, that could be, and I may actually be the person working on this. And if then that's actually a very rare position because someone with a regulatory experience would be very rare. And so, especially if they've done it with the government. So those sorts of people actually could be good in the government and again, good in the law firm. And there are exceptions to these overall rules, and law firms recognize that. So law firms, if you have compliance and regulatory, then you may be actually a pretty unusual candidate. And there are people that have unusual experience with the government that is very remarkable. I'm working with someone right now that has a law firm and a trust background, and they're getting recruited by, I don't know, state government agency to head up an antitrust division. If that person ever want to go back in a law firm because of that, they might be able to do that. But for the most part, unless your experience is very rare, you would have a very difficult time getting back into a law firm. And some maybe regulatory governmental work may be one exception to that. One of the things that you're showing me here is that you've gone to work in the government, you've gone to work in house. Why haven't you ever worked in a law firm? But if a law firm has a position for someone with your regulatory background, that would be very difficult for them to find. Then you could actually be a pretty good candidate. And there are exceptions. Okay, these are great questions. And I'm happy to hear that there's all these in-house attorneys on this. Let's see, and that's great. I've been considered more from in-house legal departments to a law firm based on what you discussed. I It sounds like it might make not be a smooth transition. Can you elaborate on the challenges I might face adjusting to the demands of the law firm environment to work in house? Okay, you have billable hours, but you have working for clients, you have being accountable to partners you're working for, you have business generation, you have addition or work from others. I'm just mentioning a few others. You have the practice area slowdowns, employment security, you have security, you have politics, like seniority issues. I'm going to tell this is very helpful for everyone watching that may want to work in a law firm or is considering not doing. These are just a few of the things that are different in a law firm than working in-house. So obviously billable hours, most in-house jobs do not require you to write down your hours. So that's something that people may not like. Most in-house jobs, you're working for one client, not multiple clients. So working for multiple clients means you have to have the ability to work on many different types of matters. You have just looking quality of work. So the quality of work you're doing in-house may be different than what's expected in a law firm. Law firms they have different work quality expectations, the way that, work goes out and how it looks. If you're in a law firm, you're going to be most of the time working for different partners or when they're going to be accountable to them. So you have to be able to do the kind of work that they want, the way they want. That's important. You have to, and then they will, if they don't like your work, they will give you work. If you piss one of them off, the other will talk. You're responsible for generating business in a law firm. So if you don't generate business, that can harm your career. Ultimately, you're competing with anybody else at the law firm for work. So everyone is trying to get work. And if you don't have work and bill hours, you're going to be in trouble. So you're competing with all these people for work. And what that means is that you have to get work from partners. You have to get work from clients. Some you actually have to make up work. So you have to, and this is what's different. When make up work, what does that mean? That means when you're when you're in-house, you probably, many times you don't want to do a lot of work. You want to send your work out. But when you're in a law firm, you have to make up work because the client they're willing to pay for different things. You want to get them to continue paying. And in order to do that, you have to figure out more work. So you have to figure out what else do they need? How can I get my bill hours up? What can I do for them? And sometimes people don't like that. And when you're billing hours, you have to actually get as many as you can. So many times you may work a lot in a matter for a client that's willing to pay for it. You'll have to go into a lot more detail than you might when you're in-house. There's practice area slowdown. So what happens is law firms may settle cases and everything will slow down. Law firms, the business of some sort of M&A or securities issuances may slow down and then you will lose work. And so there's practice area slowdown. The politics inside of a law firm are much different. So the politics, you have to get on the right side of people that have work. You want to get work from people that have work. Seniority issues. Most law firms are interested in people they're interested in people with 1 to 3 years of experience, with a sweet spot that they're most interested in is like 3 to 6, maybe, and sometimes 7. When you get more senior, the law firms are less interested in you because your billing rate gets high and then you're competing with partners for work. And there's also people that are trying to become partners. And so you're competing with them. So as you get senior in a law firm, you're no longer as desirable. Law firms don't like senior people without business. So there's so many things I could go on and on about. But if you work in a freaking in-house job, it's 10 times different. It's just so much different. I don't know how to say it in any more detail. I could talk about this forever, but it's just not the same thing. And because it's not the same thing, law firms typically are not interested in people that do that. And that the whole idea of, this is actually a very important point. And I really am excited that I'm actually able to make it because I've been thinking about this all week. And so typically what happens is you have 2 types of attorneys and they diverge. So one type of attorney goes into a law firm and they take a look around and they're like, wait a minute, like the only way to survive here is if I go and I'm able to figure out like how to, get business and how to meet with clients and how to generate more work and how to look out for my career and how not to get sucked into this kind of void of doing work for others. So they go in with that attitude and then they look around and they think, how am I going to survive? And they look, Who are the partners that are getting business? How do they get business? How can I work with them and learn with them? This is how people think. And they're like, because they realize that the only way to freaking get ahead is to generate business. And sometimes they go into these giant firms that are working with these huge institutional clients that would never have any interest in their clients. So what do? They're like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. So then they go to mid-sized firms where they can generate business, and because they realize that's the game. All I'm saying is like the whole game of working in a law firm is really, in order to survive, is to figure out how to get your own book of business and then get this book of business that you can cart around with you from firm to firm. These are the people that are happiest practicing law. These are the people that are successful practicing law. These are the people that make money practicing law. These are the people that practice law and do well at it. And then you have two people in a law firm. You have two people. So two different types of people. You have attorneys of business, or no, attorneys who do work, and attorneys who do the work. I'm tired. Who bring in, you take two different types of attorneys. Attorneys to do the work, it's my bread and butter. Those attorneys are always going to be at the mercy of the attorneys who bring in the work. So the attorneys who bring in the work, they can do whatever they want. They can hire whoever they want. So maybe for a young attorney, we like people from Duke Law School, and then we'll hire some of them. So you have attorneys to do the work, you have attorneys to bring in the work. So if you're an attorney who does the work, which is most of the people, you're beholden. You need for work, right? You need to grovel from work from people from partners, et cetera, that have it. That's your job. And I look at this all the time, but I just look because I'm looking at attorneys all day and I'm like, wow, almost every attorney out there is doing the work and they're all looking for jobs and they have these great qualifications and I can find places to do the work. But these attorneys, if you come out of law school and you're an attorney or you've been practicing for 10 years and why is no one interested in me? Like, what am I supposed to do to get a job? Like, what, maybe I need to go in-house. This is what people do. Like they have these backgrounds and they think that because they did well in school or whatever, they're attorneys to do the work. And that's scary. If you want to go down that route, that's what you want to do the rest of your career. And again, this is place people like that. Place two yesterday, place one today. Attorneys do the work. They are needed and they serve a purpose, but then you have the attorneys to bring in the work. So if I take two separate attorneys, everyone is interested. And this is what law firms need. Law firms cannot survive without these people. And that's what they need. So so that's it. So law firms, they need people that bring in the work. And if you bring in the work, they can always hire attorneys to do the work. Law firms have hiring partners. They have recruiting departments. They have all these things where they can screen and look for attorneys to do the work. But if you bring in the work, that's your career. That's what you should be doing. You should be trying to become an attorney that brings in the work. Because if you don't, then again, you're going to be beholden to the attorneys that bring in the work all the time. And the attorneys that bring in the work are going to prefer to hire younger people that are more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They're trying to impress them and they're going to hire anybody. They're going to hire people from the best schools. They're the hungriest. They're going to hire. It's very sad because what happens is you go to these firms and you work really hard when you're young, and then you're like, reward me. And they're like, no one does because you don't have any business. Or maybe they reward you. They give you like an income partner title, but you haven't brought in the work. So you're SOL. So it's just, this is the game to become an attorney brings in the work. Now, no one teaches people this. No one tells you this. But I'll tell you, I have lots of attorneys I'm working with that bring in the work, and people are like excited, and the firms are really nice to me, and they're like jumping up and down. And then I have attorneys that do the work, and these attorneys, the law firms are not as excited. They do things like the attorney says they get an offer. I had one the other day. An attorney got an offer for, I don't know, it was $350,000 a year working for a law firm in the Bay Area, like a mid-sized law firm. Attorney wrote back and said, because they were an hour and a half from the office. And so they got the offer and they said, hey, is there any flexibility to work remotely part of the week? And so I want to keep in mind that this attorney interviewed, like this law firm spent incredible amounts of time interviewing this person. They had them interview. They interviewed like 15 or 16 people, and they had a dinner and like all this sort of thing. And the attorney asked this question. This guy's he was, I think, a real estate attorney. And he asked this question. He was like 12, 13 years out of law school and working for another firm. didn't have any business. He asked this question and the law firm was like, hell no. Like, not only that, but we don't want his offers revoked just because like he asked this question. And meaning they're like, if he's even thinking about this, it's clear he's not going to come to the office. So we need to cut ties with this freaking guy. That's what these law firms. So this is what happens when you want to do the work. You are in a position where if people want you to do something, like, then you don't do it the way they want you to, they're just going to like, your life is in the balance. If you don't bring in work, if you don't impress partners and all these things, you're in trouble. But if you're the one that brings in the work, they'll do whatever you want. You want to work at home? Sure. No problem. I mean, it's such a much better life. Attorneys who bring the work, and just, this is one final thing. So attorneys who bring in who do the work for someone else. And attorneys that bring in the work are basically self-employed. And I'm sorry for spending so much time on this because this digresses from the question. But your goal as an attorney, you don't need to be a business person to be self-employed. You're self-employed in a law firm because you are, when you're attorney that brings in the work, you are paying the law firm. This is how it works. You are paying the law firm to, I'm just doing this. You're paying the law firm to provide you a brand, some associates, offices, administrative. Sorry, I was going. So you're just want to make sure I understand this. You're self-employed. So when you're working, returning with the work, the law firm basically saying, this is what law firms exist to. Law firm exists for basically attorneys to bring in the work. And they bring in all these people. They like to advance them up the rent, but they'll bring them in from other firms. They're bringing in people to do that, have work. And those people are basically self-employed. Not the law firm's paying them something, but they're self-employed and they're basically hiring the law firm. This is the way to think about it. Some partners don't always think about this, but they should. These attorneys are self-employed. They're paying the law firm to provide them a brand, associates, administrative support, whatever. And that's what the law firm exists for the attorney, because the attorney can usually pick up the work and go somewhere else. This is a very important point. And you need to really understand, regardless of the state of your career, you are 10 times better off bringing in the work than not. So this is a logical question. I was actually going to make a video about this yesterday because I'm talking to these people like somewhere, I don't know, like talking to this woman, she worked at Fenwick and Gunderson and stuff. And she's like, how do I get business? And she's like a 12th year attorney. And I'm like, how do you get business? So how does an attorney get business? How does an attorney? So an attorney gets business. This is what they all do. So how's an attorney? What they all do is they go out and they meet people. They go out and they find ways to help people, like to offer their time, to not ask for anything in return. They will figure out ways to get to know people that have companies. And in the process, they will set themselves up as an expert. They will spend a lot of time trying to meet with people and give them free advice. They will join different things where they can do that. And they will focus on not asking for anything, but giving. They will start doing that early in their careers. They will put time into it. They will be egoless, and they will go out and they will meet people and find people that they can help and then offer advice, not necessarily ever ask for business, and position themselves as something. So if you want to be a attorney that, I don't know, like working in a law firm that does corporate M&A, then maybe you start focusing on one little aspect of them, merging, I don't know, pharmaceutical companies, some small pharmaceutical, I don't know, vitamin company. You come up with some sort of freaking angle, and then you try to meet people in your industry that do that. So if you want to represent vitamin companies doing stuff, then you represent vitamin companies. You do something that has a niche. You try to do that. And then when you get that niche or something, then you go out and you start meeting people and companies in that niche and not even asking for anything, just talking to them and forming relationships and going on dinners and inviting people to talk about their companies and things. And you just do this and you spend a lot of time doing it, and you're selfless and you don't ask for anything. It's not like, hey, I'm this attorney. Would you do business with me? That's not how it works in the United States. The United States is like a much different place than a lot of places in the world. You need to go out and give people something for nothing and forge relationships and have people trust you before anybody's going to give you business. You can certainly, and then you have to do something and you have to spend a significant amount of time doing this. So you cannot expect if you want to work in a law firm and bill 3,000 hours a year and get ahead that way, you can try that. Or you could try to find a firm where you can build 1,500 to 2,000 hours a year, and you can spend another 2,000 hours a year developing business. This is what people do. They learn people skills. They go out and they meet with people. They give things to people without expecting anything in return. They help people. They connect people. This is what they do, and it's not that hard. You just have to do that. And a lot of times people ask, how does it get done? How did you meet your significant other? How do you meet friends? You do it because it's something you want to do and you put your effort into it. And so that's how you do it. And again, I could talk for hours about how to get business, but essentially what it's all about is just about being there for people and offering advice and so forth. This is what politicians do. And sorry to get to talk so much about this, but it's a very important topic. If 100 people, you can write down a piece of paper and you stay in touch with those 100 people, and then you do the same thing and you meet people and so forth, then you will develop a network. You will develop people that know about you. If you know 100 people and they know that you're a commercial litigation attorney, they will push your name around. And it's just, there's a lot to it. This isn't a class in generating business, but I did want to bring up the stuff about business because it is very important if you want to have a very profitable, a very good career. It's most important. Okay, someone who's practiced law primarily in solo or small law firms, smaller solo law firm setting. I'm interested in exploring opportunities for larger law firms. However, I'm concerned about how my background might be perceived by hiring managers. What steps can I take to address any potential reservations they may have about my transition from a less structured practice? Okay, if you're working as a solo, all law firms care about is pretty much your business, type of work you do, and you may. So one of the things I would just wanted to bring up, and number one, this is a very important point again, positive some of the important points, but think about if you're a law firm. So if a law firm has a job and they get 20 applicants, just without one of them is coming from a similar firm, the other is coming from in-house, the other is a solo practitioner, doesn't have any large law firm experience or law firm experience on their own, who would you hire? Anytime you position yourself in some way as a solo practitioner, as an in-house attorney, like all these things, you have to understand that anytime a law firm has a need for someone, they're going to hire the person best suited for the job. And the person best suited for the job is almost always going to be someone coming from their practice setting, their experience. So why would a law firm take a risk? Why would they take a risk on someone from a solo practitioner? The only reason they're going to take that risk is if doing this stuff, is if you have something that they can't find and there's no other person like it. That's the only way. But there's actually, and this is actually very interesting. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how does BCG make play, and I'll talk to you a little bit about this, right? BCG makes placements in a couple of different ways. We make placements with exclusive jobs. And this is just how you should exclusive jobs, meaning the law firms giving us their opening. Whenever we make exclusive jobs, we make them not exclusive jobs, and then we make them with no jobs at all. And no jobs at all is 85% of our play. Maybe it's 70 or whatever, but I'll just say 70% plus of placement. So what does that mean? So that means, so we get exclusive jobs, and that means a law firm says, hey, BCG, will you fill this job for us? We really need help. And we say, sure. And then we work on it and make placement. Sometimes the law firm just has a job and they fire it out to all sorts of recruiters and we work on it. And that's a non-exclusive job. That's another way we make placements. But another way we make placements, and again, I've said in other places it's 80%, is we make placements when we just contact firms and say, hey, would you have any interest in this person? And then we go from there. And then the law firm will say, yeah. The benefit of applying to a firm that doesn't have an opening is you're the only applicant. You're basically making a business proposition to them saying, hey, I am available. I would like to work for you. And I really think you're a great firm. Would you hire me? So what happens when you do that is then you're the only applicant. Law firms can think about it. So if you are in a solo law firm setting or small law firm setting, the only way you could possibly get into a larger law firm, most of the time, if you apply to a job and the law firm's going to get lots of applications, why would they hire you when they can hire someone from a similar practice setting? They would be crazy to do that. Would you do that? No, there's no reason for them to do it. It would be crazy. They don't know the quality of work you're doing. They don't know about your firm. They don't know what kind of work standards you have for yourself. So they almost never do it. But the only way you could possibly get into a larger law firm, and this is, you're Canada, this is what I would advise you. But anyway, is to apply to places that don't have openings or to start up relationships with people that are inside of law firms. Just like I was talking earlier about how an attorney gets business. You go out and you meet with, you start relationships with people that are in different size law firms, and you are there and you get their attention. It can happen. That's how you do it. You get their attention, you have relationships. That's really the best way. But no law firm is going to hire someone from, especially a large law firm, from a solo or small law firm setting. They have no reason to, unless there's something unusual or strong about that you have some sort of relationship. So honestly, like everything out there is built on relationships. The people with the best relationships in anything are the ones that make the most money and have the best work. Yeah. These are good questions, by the way. Thank you, everyone. These are very good questions you are asking. Okay, I made the switch from practicing law in a government agency to pursuing opportunities in law firms, but I'm finding it challenging to land interviews, let alone secure a job offer. Do law firms generally view government experience unfavorably? If so, what specific aspects of my government background might be causing concern for potential employers? And are there any strategies one can use to address these concerns and position myself more effectively as a lateral candidate? Okay, I talked earlier about how I worked in the Justice Department of Washington, D.C. one summer, and it was, by the way, they were exceptional attorneys. I was blown away. They were very good attorneys, very skilled, and great writers, great dedicated to their cause and everything. But at the same time, the law firm, the building was 6 o'clock. You could have shot a cannon down the hall. It was just going even at 5:30. It's like they don't have to work those hours. They're dedicated. They don't have to work those hours. It's just different. You're working for the government. You're motivated by that as opposed to trying to get clients and all these things. It's just we're working for all these different partners and working for paying clients and interested in making a lot of money. And there's just different things that an attorney inside of a government office working for the government does compared to a law firm. It's just different. It's like your heart's in a different place. So it's just different. So the point is that law firms can hire people that are coming from law firms. So if there's 10 people applying for a job, there's one from the government and there's another that's worked from law firms, nothing but law firms, or one law firm for 5 years. Why would they hire you as opposed to someone that's already working in the same practice setting? The practice setting of working in a law firm, if I say, if one attorney is at Morrison and Foerster, and that attorney from Morrison and Foerster wants to go work at Melvin E. Myers, everyone knows what it's like working at a firm like Morrison and Foerster. Melvin E. Myers working at a firm like Morrison and Foerster. So if one of those attorneys wants to go back and forth, both firms are like, hey, this is a good firm. This is a good firm for this person, and they understand it. In contrast, it's just, anyway, the whole thing is different. If you want to be a lateral attorney and you want to work and you're not working in a law firm, you're going to have a much more difficult. So what are your strategies for doing that? You form relationships in law firm attorney, relationships that people that can hire you. You apply to firms without opening, apply to firms without openings. What else? You make sure you have a law firm like resume. What does that mean? That just means, you sometimes if you're working with the government, especially like people working for JAG, those ridiculous resumes talk about 15 different things. You do that. If you can't get jobs in large markets, you try and get jobs in smaller markets. It's often very easy to get it's much easier to get a position in a market where there may be like 15,000 people than it is to get a job in New York City. And the reason for that is when you work in large markets, if you go to a place like New York, for example, there's so many attorneys there that the law firms can generally get a bunch of what they'd like. And so that's just how it works. If you're working in an area, if you're trying to get a job in a smaller area outside New York or upstate New York or something, then the law firms are not going to have as many people to choose from. So obviously you're going to have a much better chance of getting a job. And sometimes I can know it. I've worked with law firms like in North Dakota and South Dakota and this sort of thing where they have absolutely no way. They can't hire people. They're like begging us, like, why aren't you getting us people? They're mad at us. There are no people and no one's applying. I'm working with this one law firm right now. There's some awesome firms out there that need people. And unfortunately, they can't get them because of where they're located. So very smart to try to place in smaller markets. And So there's just a lot of things, but the main things are look in smaller markets, try to work in areas where, where apply to firms that openings. And then those are the main things, but it's very difficult. If prosecutor, then that's not too difficult. You can always get a job in criminal law, but there's just a lot of government positions that are it's going to be very difficult for you to get a job if you're not from the kind of back this person. So you say lawyers, entrepreneurial background, and have set their own solo practice have two advantages. They have business development skills, and they may be able to bring a business to a law firm. Why would a law firm not be interested in hiring them? Okay, first of all, billing rates of your clients are going to be different. Your clients lower than a law. That's the first thing. Law firms, your work, your like your work quality at least. You may not have learned how to do it. So there's a lot of so much in the bill, not taking orders from others. So if you're out of leaving, so yeah, a couple ideas here. So if you come over from a law firm, if you have your own practice and you're trying to work for a law firm, your billing rates of your clients, you may be a personal injury attorney or something, which is completely different. For the most part, if you're a solo practitioner, the billing rates of your clients are likely to be different. So if you go to a large law firm, even a mid-sized law firm or a small law firm, those law firms are going to expect you to bill your clients at a certain rate. The rates are likely to be lower. The law firm is not going to be as interested in you because your clients are going to pay that. So your business is often not as relevant. When you do the work, it's not necessary. No one's looking over your shoulder. No one's showing you how to do it. You may be missing errors. You may not be a specialist in something. What does that mean? That means that you may not have the skills you may not, if you're doing whatever practice area you're in, you may be more of a generalist than a specialist. So what does that mean? Law firms hire people that are more likely to be specialists in something. Many times in-house attorneys, their clients seen a bunch of different things. So you would be more of a generalist. The ability to take orders from others. So a lot of times people don't like that. They don't like having, especially solo practitioners, the idea of having to take orders and things is may not be comfortable with. That's why they became solos to begin with. They like being on the clients. The solo practitioner knows that they can leave if things don't work out. So there's always a threat of that. Solos get to keep all the money. They go in-house. If they go to a law firm, they give away, what is it, 20, 80, 80 is 80 or 60, 80%. So what does that mean? That means if you have a law firm, if you're in-house, if you have your own law firm, solo has 500 grand, 500K in billings, in collection, 500K. They go out, they go to a law firm. Traditionally, they would get to keep 1/3, which means one third to 500,000. Serious. 500,000. Where's my calculator? Here it is. 500,000 divided by 3. So they give 166,000 for overhead, firm overhead, which means secretaries, whatever. And they give 166,000 or whatever, partner distributions, whatever. I just call it, et cetera. And then they give, and then 166 is how much they take. If you were a solo, there's reasons to go work inside of a law firm because you can potentially make your business larger and so forth, to get a better brand and better clients, but they're also going to lose money. So law firms know that. So they would say, why is this person willing to stay with us? Why would they? We're happy to take this money from them. But if you're a solo, like you may not, that's why law firms wouldn't be interested in hiring you. So there's a whole bunch of different reasons, but just think about it. Anybody that's ever had their own business and succeeded at it, like they don't often want to go to work for someone else that's going to take a large portion of the money. I don't know why this person asked this question, but I'll answer it. It's fun. So someone said, do you think people who are social introverts without sales experience can be a legal recruiter? Yes, you do not have need of sales experience to be a recruiter. But I will say that you can't become, I don't know, as personal recruiting, but I'm glad to hear these sort of thoughts. You have to be able to connect with people and like people and see their strengths in order to connect with others. Social introverts can be great business generators in law firms. They can go out and make connections and meet people and It can do very well. Anybody without sales experience can do any well than anything. You need to be, but you need to like other people and you need to feel like you have something to offer. And recruiters, I've seen recruiters, most recruiters that succeed are able to connect people at some level. I would say that. I mean, you have to like people. The best recruiters, I'm like doing a bunch of different things in my job. I'm running a business, recruiting, doing this sort of stuff. But the best recruiters, I think, are people that you meet that are motivated. You meet them, you like them, they just get along with others. That's how it works. But anybody, by the way, with no sales, doesn't have sales skills, can do well. You can do well getting business. You can do well in any business. It's just you just have to put yourself in the right do well. I remember Bill Urquhart, who's one of the founders of Quinn Emanuel. He's no died 5, 6 years ago. I don't know. But he used to say, I remember when I was a young attorney, he said that the best guy with the most business in Los Angeles was also the biggest nerd. Like the attorney with the most business that in LA was also one of the biggest nerds in LA, which I always thought was funny because it just shows that anybody can do in transition, can do well in sales. There's no recipe for being good at sales, but the best salespeople are able to overcome, persevere over. There's just all sorts of things, but they typically they like people. Okay, I've seen attorneys transition from solo practices or startup ventures into law firms. They often struggle to adapt to the team environment. How can we identify red flags during the hire process to avoid bringing in candidates who may not thrive in a structured law? Yeah, so anytime someone has a interest in anything other than working in a law firm, they're almost always a bad hire. The law firm is a different environment. It has different requirements. It has working very hard and billing hours and impressing partners, and then hopefully getting ahead and developing business, or it's just different things. Law firm, these people from solo practices or startup ventures never work. One thing I will tell you, it's very interesting. Like I always, part of being a good recruiter is believing in people and like getting behind them and saying, what are they capable of? And all this sort of stuff. And that's what I do. This is obviously a lot from asking this question. I'm sure that you see that's what I do with all my candidates. I just present them in a way that I try to make them as strong as possible, but it just never works out. These startup attorneys, and the best law firms, by the way, just avoid them. They know, when they hire them, it's not going to work out. But yeah, the attorneys struggle and they don't adapt well to a team environment. So the only way to identify them is to not hire them. Why would you hire someone if you have a choice? Most law firms have a choice. Any type of position, you have someone from a law firm environment, someone from a non-law firm environment. Who would you choose? I would choose, if I was a law firm, I would choose the person from a law firm environment. I would think it would be, why wouldn't I choose someone from a non-law firm environment? It's just too much risk. They're going to undermine. They're going to just, it's not good. It's too much risk. It's dumb. And I will tell you that your top law firms never do it. They have institutional memory. They know that when they've tried in the past, it's never worked out. So just avoid it. You should be hiring people from the same type of environment. That your goal is to create an atmosphere where attorneys are working with similar types of people, where there's not a lot of turnover with people working on client matters, where the people are respectful to not talking about what it's like. It's just, that's a smart thing to do. You hire people from similar settings. It's also very interesting to me that attorneys that don't work, if you go to a good law school, if you go to one of these top 20 law schools and you don't get a job if you don't work in the summer in a law firm of some sort, I don't care what you're doing. But if you don't do that, then law firms are just not going to, most law firms, good sized law firms will never hire those people. Like, it's because, and they won't get jobs because why? If you're a law firm, like, why would you risk hiring that sort of person that doesn't show an interest or drive to work in a law firm? So I can't really emphasize why it's just risk. Again, if you have two choices of two different types of people to hire, you should always choose the person that's shown an interest in your practice setting. But sometimes law firms will hire people from startup ventures, but I never see it work. And I see people, I had a guy actually who was interesting. He was very interesting. He was a patent litigator in a big firm, like a New York-based firm, their office in Silicon Valley. And he decided his friend, we worked with him for several months and got him all these great job offers. And then just as he was about ready to go accept something, he decided his friend was starting the Sure Thing company and he was going to go work for them. And so he quit his law firm job. And so we got him like all these great jobs and the law firms loved him. And he went and worked there. And then within 3 months, the whole thing just caved in. And then he was able to get one more job, but then in a law firm that didn't last very long. And now the guy's just done like nothing. Now it was rare that he was able to get a position in a law firm, but he didn't stay there very long. And I think the reason was is he gotten a taste of what it's not to have to work so hard. And when it's like, and so he went after this company failed, he just went there and I think he got fired. I didn't get him the job, but I he's a candidate in our database and I look at him and he keeps applying for jobs and I look at his background and I look, there's nothing going on. It's been years. Once you go in house, it's very difficult for people to get, it's very difficult. Okay, if coming from a company as in-house associate, not licensed yet in the US, the few months experience in a boutique firm, but with more than 5 years experience in the company, what advice can you give to be attracted to a law firm? Yeah. Same kind of question. It's interesting. So if you're not licensed in the US, I guess not licensed, but you have experience and you're trying to get into a law firm. I don't understand if you're saying you're a foreign attorney working in house. I don't quite understand this. I think, but how can you be attractive to a law firm? What are the chances to get a big law? So this is the big mistake people make. So the big mistake, I'll just talk about this. So attorneys from all over the world come to the US and think, hey, we can take the bar in all these different New York and California. I don't know. You may need to get an outlaw. I'm not aware of big rules anymore. But people think, oh, I'm an attorney in this other country. I can come to the US and I can work doing such. And if I do that, I'm good. Law firms are going to love me or whatever. They think that they can get into a large US law firm. For people from other countries believe this and they think they can do it, regardless and that they're going to make all this money. 99% of the time, when I say 99, I mean it. 99% of the time, it doesn't work out. So it does not work. Now, I've seen some incredible stories. I was talking to this woman in Florida that come from Venezuela and somehow fled there, came over here and got a LLM and working in big firming. It does happen, but 90% of the time it doesn't work out. The reason it does not work out so you can, by the way, I want everyone to understand, especially if you're a foreign attorney or whatever the hell's going on with this person. You can come to the US and you can you can get an LLM or something or maybe the smartest thing to do is get an LLM and then go read our JD. But you can come to the US and get an LLM and take the bar and get jobs. You're just not going to get jobs. Why would a huge law firm hire you when they can choose from attorneys in the United States? Would you hire someone from a foreign country that has their family, their whole social network there, that's trained in that legal system that you may need to get papers for in order to work? Would you hire that person or would you hire someone coming from a U.S. law firm with the U.S.? I would hire someone from a U.S. background. Maybe the person from the foreign country will work harder and you'll have more control. I don't know. But for the most part, they want people to be from the U.S. We're going to hire them. So large law firms are not going to hire people from foreign countries with no bar because they can hire people from the US. They'd be crazy. Why would they do this and take all the risk? Now, people you can get a job for, though, if you are outside the mold, is you can get jobs in smaller firms. I've seen some of the funniest freaking crap. I was talking to this lawyer from China that had come to the US, was working in some Montana or some helping farmers buy tractors. That means it's very funny doing corporate related work and helping farms buy milking equipment and millions of dollars. But the point is that you can come to the US and you can get a job as a foreign attorney, but you're not going to go make $1,000 a year working in a US law firm after you get your LLM at the bar. It's just craziness. Like you can get jobs in smaller markets where you take the bar. You can get jobs in areas outside of major cities. So what does that mean? If you're in California, like you have Los Angeles, that's a huge market. Now there are small law firms in Los Angeles that don't pay a lot. You probably get a job with. But if you go outside of Los Angeles and you start looking at, outside Bakersfield and like just different areas where there aren't, where there's no attorneys or just middle of the state, like desert and stuff, like, then yes, you can get jobs, but you have to be smart, try to get positions in these huge markets, like in the biggest firms, like it's pointless. It's like the law of size and demand. You may get jobs as like a international arbitration attorney for 1 year or something, or but it's very difficult. And again, I apologize for just a lot of demand for people come over and spend 70, $100,000 getting their LL from foreign countries. And it's just very difficult. It just doesn't make any sense unless you think about the market in the right way. So how can a foreign student be attracted to law firms? You decide to look in areas that are not, let me see, US map. Let me see if I can do this. United States map. You're going to pull this up. This is the huge mistake that foreign LLMs make, or any LLM, are pretty much attorneys trying to get jobs. So let's see. Make this for okay. So here we go. Here's recording. Collapse this thing. Okay, so this is US map. So here's what everyone does. Like, oh, I want to work in San Francisco, I work in San Jose, I want to work in LA and San Diego. No, if you're a foreign attorney and you don't have any contacts in the US, that's not what you try to do. You try to work in Corcoran or Collins or Lancaster or or like this is what you do if you want to get a job. Why would you spend all your effort trying to get a job in these huge concentrated areas of the United States where everyone and their brother and where US law students and things are trying to get positions? It's crazy. This is what people do though. They think, oh, I want to work at one of the biggest firms. I'm going to get my LLM and work in one of the top AmLaw 100 law firms in LA and get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. No, you're not. Like, because those firms can choose from people that are from the US, went to US law schools for their JD, that are the top of their class, that's what they do. So what do you do? How do you get a job if you're a foreign LLM? I get calls from a lot of people. I get these crazy calls, all from attorneys like in Portugal. They say, oh, I'm retiring. And I need someone to take over my book of business. There's no attorneys. There's only another attorney 30 miles away in Visalia or something. So what is that? What am I saying? I'm saying that you need to, if you want to get a job as a foreign attorney in the US, you need to apply to firms that in Stovepipe Wells. Actually, that's where you want to. It's actually a cool place to go on the summer. It's freaking hot as hell. And that's very interesting. But you got to look at Bishop, California. It's actually a very nice town, but there's not going to be a lot of attorneys there. There's not a lot of attorneys in Mammoth Lakes. That's a fun, actually, I love Mammoth. It's some of the best skiing in the world. It's a great mountain. No one goes there, but you look in these places where there's just not a lot of competition, because if you're trying to compete if you're a foreign LLM, if you are not even a foreign LLM, but you're an attorney in the United States and you think you can't get a job, you are no, you are freaking wrong. Any attorney in the United States can get a job. It's there because there is demand where there's demand. There's a need for attorneys and there's not enough of them in the area, but they all are trying to work at these giant markets in the United States where there's just not enough attorneys. You can work in South Dakota. And this is just an example. This is not a place that a lot of attorneys would want to work, but I'm just telling you that there are so many freaking places in the country that any attorney can get a job if they're motivated, that, you would be crazy not to try to do this. I want everyone to understand that, yes, you can get jobs. The market is not for you as an LLM, but everyone is trying to work in the areas where there's a huge concentration of attorneys. Even Lawrence would be. So let's say here, a lot of people come to, let's see, where is this? New York. So they want to get a job in New York. That's not really the smartest thing to do because you're competing with an incredible number of people all trying to do the same thing. There's multiple applicants for each job. It's just not a good idea, right? You have to think about this. What do you do? What if you couldn't get a job in New York? Could you apply to firms at Woodstock? Could you apply to, this is what smart people do. If you want to get this experience, you can apply to firms in Mahola. What is this? Or that's in New Jersey. I'm not even in New York anymore. But you look for firms in areas where there's just not a lot of competition. Am I in New York right now? Let's see where I am. I'm just trying to show everyone kind of an example of how to be really freaking smart about this. Let's see, we're in New York. And the reason I'm spending so much time on this is just because I've been doing this for a long time, and I see people making so many mistakes. Look, let's say Binghamton, New York, right? Binghamton, New York. Let's see, law firms in Binghamton, New York. So what is this? How big is this place? I don't even know what I'm doing. Oh, look, there's BCG. I love it. There's firms in Binghamton, New York that probably no freaking foreign attorney has even thought about because they're just trying to freaking jump over every single person in New York City to get a job. And then they come here and they spend $100,000 on a degree and they're like, oh, I give up. It's impossible. I can't get a job because I've applied to all the 100 top largest law firms in, in Binghamton, New York, or in New York City, and no one's hiring me. There must be something terribly wrong. No. So here's this law firm in Binghamton, New York. Look at this. They do business law. They do labor and employment. They do appellate. They do health law. That's great. So you could go to this firm and get experience in business law if you wanted to. But no one thinks of everyone's, oh, I should be working at a big law firm in New York. Look how many freaking people there are at this place. This is awesome. You could work for Kieran McMullen. The point I'm making is that no one thinks of being smart about their job search. People think about, I must work for the largest law firm. I must work in the biggest city. No, that's just freaking stupid because you should be working where there's a need for you. No attorney should be trying to get a job where they're competing with so many different people in these huge markets and things where nothing's going to happen. It's just, and then you get frustrated. You're like, oh, I remember I was talking to this guy like a couple of years ago. This is not an LLM student. He went to Harvard Law School. Then he got some job and he lost it. He was unemployed. No one would hire him because even though he went to Harvard, why would you hire someone that's unemployed as opposed to someone that's employed? We have our choice. We can hire someone who's got a job or someone who doesn't have a job. Someone who has a job is more likely to be a good attorney than someone that doesn't. I don't know, and they have plenty of choices. So he couldn't get a job. So then when I found him, he was working for a personal injury firm and he wanted to do commercial litigation or something. If he would have been smart, instead of trying to do all these big firms in New York City and getting depressed about it, he would have applied to Levine, Goldman, and Thompson. Just saying, not this firm, but you look for jobs in other markets where there's going to be demand. I mean, you look for places, you go where there's demand, not where everyone else is trying to work. So everyone comes over the U.S. and they think and there's a lot of, I say thousands. I don't know how many, but it's thousands. And they come over and they think they're going to get a job, but they're only looking at big markets. It's the dumbest freaking thing you can do. Like, why would and I've said this 100 times, but why would a law firm in a big market ever be interested in hiring someone who's an LM more in some foreign LM when they have plenty of people that could hire? So the way to seek employment to a certain BCG is basically to submit a resume on the website. One thing about BCG is also, I was thinking about this last night, this company works so freaking hard for our candidates. We will overwhelm you with opportunities. And most of our candidates, we never give up, but a lot of our candidates give up because they're like, why are we getting so many jobs? And the only thing BCG is looking for is to make sure that you have, you're focused on this area. That's our main concern. And if you look focused, that's great. Law firms want to hire people that focus on a practice area coming from a similar practice setting. That's it. So how to get jobs as an attorney, get jobs. This is very simple. It's how to get jobs in a law firm, 101. Have a practice area, be committed one. This area, practice area, and be coming from a law firm. Doesn't matter. This is it. It's all you're going to be coming from a law firm, not some other practice. This is all you need to do. Now, what happens in smaller markets is in smaller markets, you may be more of a generalist. And the reason for that is people that work in smaller markets, they're generalists because there's not a client that needs an M&A attorney in Binghamton, New York. They mean a corporate attorney that could do corporate and advise them things, but they don't need an attorney from I think that makes sense. So you'd be committed to a practice area, and then smaller markets, okay, to be a little bit of a generalist, but typically the law firms want you to be coming from have a practice area and then comes from a law firm. That's it. That's all you need to get a job. So in a law firm, really. So would it be accurate to would it be accurate to say the government may be inclined to hire a solo practitioner with little experience in a particular legal area with less than 5 years of experience? Yes. So government jobs, there are tons of them. I do not understand why, if you want to work as an attorney and you think you're having a hard time getting a job, working for the government can just be freaking awesome. I had the funniest thing happen. And this is not even about an attorney job, but I remember when I got out of law school, my first job was with working for a federal judge. And back then, I think I was making, I don't know, $45,000 a year. And it was very funny. Like every Saturday, 2 weeks, my check would arrive in the mailbox. It was like clockwork. But anyway, I was working for this judge. And then there was a guy, I was in a kind of a duplex, like I was in the upper level and he was in the lower level. And in this duplex, he was working for the Social Security office. He had not gone to law school. He was just graduated from college and he was making like $55,000 or $60,000 a year, but ended up losing his job because he was never going in. He was a drunk. He was a really nice guy and his wife. But anyway, my point is that, getting jobs from the government is, again, not that difficult. And there are plenty of these jobs. Just to hop back here to the US map, every one of these towns has a government office, like right here that I'm showing you, whether it's Vestal or Elderwood or Foster or the county, there are government jobs all over. You can just an example, it's a list of cities. And I'm just trying to think of some random freaking area here. Let me just see here. List of cities in the US map again. This is fun. List of cities in Ohio. Let's do a list of cities in Ohio. These are all your municipalities in Ohio. Someone gets out of law school and they say, oh, there's no freaking job, or I can't find anything anywhere. Wow. So let's talk about this. So there's 905,000 people in Columbus, and you go down this and everyone's thinking, oh, there's no jobs in Ohio. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of competition in Columbus and Cincinnati. But then you get down to places like Toledo, Akron, things start getting a little bit slimmer. And then you get to Dublin right here, and there's 49,000 people. So if you want to go to Dublin, let's look at Dublin, Ohio. Dublin, Ohio. And this city will have a government. They will have attorneys working there. There's also the county that they're in. They will have attorneys working there. And you can do this exercise for every freaking state in the country. And this is insane. Like these are small places, right? All of these things with 10,000, 20,000, there's so many government jobs out there that people don't even realize how much opportunity there is. If you want to work, government will hire solo practitioners. They will hire people with less than 5 years of experience. And most people are not applying for those jobs. So you need to be trying to do your best to apply for, if you want to work in the government, you're still a practitioner, you can get jobs. Most people don't think this. Every freaking town, almost at a decent size, in every county has state offices, there's municipal offices, there's federal offices. There's so many government opportunities out there. People don't understand. They just say, oh, there's a number of opportunities. And there are an incredible number of opportunities in the government. LLM student, graduate in California, plans to sit for the bar in New York and find a job. How to direct the job search now, bar exam and the results. Should one way for the bar for applying, what kind of positions and what kind of jobs should they hire? Okay, so this person is asking what kind of jobs should they hire? Now, what I do not like about what this person is saying and what no attorney should ever say is they have to be for paralegal. I see this all day, every day. They think, oh, I didn't go to a good enough school. I need to be a paralegal. Oh, there's no jobs. I need to be a paralegal. Or no, you do not need to be a paralegal. There are so many freaking places that you can work as an attorney. You would be insane to be a paralegal. You also do not need to be a contract attorney. No one, I don't care if any U.S. law school you went, even if you think it's the last ranked law school in the country, you do not need to be a paralegal or a contract attorney because there are so many places and states and cities and every freaking area of the country that you can work. You would be insane to think you have to be a paralegal. No one has to be a paralegal or do something. Wish I could close this freaking window out. I don't know but no one has to be a paralegal. There are so many opportunities. No one has to be a contract attorney. There are so many places that you can work that no one else is trying to. There's so many places that you can work. So just know. So this person wants to sit for the New York bar and find a job in New York. So good luck. Like you think you can work as an attorney in a big law firm in New York City or a law firm in New York City because you're an LLM student and you got a degree and took the bar. You have to look at smaller markets if you want to get a job. That's my only advice. There is demand in smaller markets where not a lot of people are applying for jobs. Everything is about the law of supply and demand. No one is going to hire someone with an LLM program from a foreign country that's not likely to stick around, might not even speak English as their first language. They have to be out of their mind, but they will hire you if you are coming from a similar, if there's demand. So that's it. So it's law of supply and demand. So if you want to go to New York City and try to get a job, good luck. You could maybe work as a clerk in a personal injury firm or something, or workers' compensation. You have to apply to markets where there's not a lot of people. That's all there is to it. If you try to apply to markets where there are a lot of people and firms that are not getting a lot of applications, and you are not going to get a job. So how do I do a job search? If I want to move to New York City, so let's say you went and got some freaking job, and I wish I really knew how to close this thing out. But here we go. I'm making some progress this year. All right. Okay. So you want to move all the way to New York. I'll just show this example again. So you have this giant state of New York, and you think you're going to try to get a job in one of these giant cities in New York. So you're not. So the only way to do it is to job search. If you really want to get a job in New York and you think that's where you want to work, is you look at Albany, you look at Utica, like smaller areas where there's not a lot of competition. People that there are areas of the country where not a lot of people are trying to work, where there's not a lot of attorneys, are the smart places to apply because there's not any competition for the job that you're trying to for the firms you're trying to get. And you also I forgot to say one thing here. When you're trying to get a job in these markets, you do unsolicited applications. So what does that mean? So you apply Saratoga Springs, list of law firms that do corporate or whatever, I don't know, corporate related work in Saratoga. I should have put New York, but Google should be showing us this result. Okay, so Google's great. So now here you got Google's showing you all of these attorneys in Saratoga Springs. And some of these are law firms. There's tons and tons of places. So this is one of 20 pages, and there's probably a lot here. So your estate plan attorney. The point is that everywhere in the country, there is opportunity, and you have to think about, you have to think about where there's opportunity. The reason I said earlier, you should work as a paralegal or, I see people coming to law school and they're just paralegals, and I have people coming to law school, contract attorneys. No, you should be an attorney. Like, you went to law school to be a freaking attorney. Like, do what you can to work at a law firm and do your best. I mean, like, as an attorney. And again, people think, oh, I'm not that smart. It took me all this time to pass the bar. I didn't do well in law school. It was funny. This is actually very funny. And I was having lunch 2 weekends ago with someone that used to be a tenure professor at Syracuse Law School. And this person told me, no, I don't know how to get this information, that Joe Biden was dead last in his law school class. Now, I don't know that he learned that from working at law school. I don't know if he read that somewhere, but he said he was dead last. And so what does that mean? Like, dead last, he's obviously, by world standards, one of the most successful people in the world. So he's dead last in law school, at not a top 10 law school, but he's president of the freaking United States. So he obviously succeeded. So it doesn't matter like how smart you are, or what matters is same thing with a lot of famous personal injury attorneys, dead last in the class. All these people that could be very successful a lot of people drop out of the practice of law because they don't think that they have the skills, and it's crazy. So if Joe Biden, last in his class from University of Syracuse Law School, is president of the United States, what does that tell you? You don't need to be a contract attorney. You don't need to do anything. So this person says, I am applying to law school this fall. I'm 65 years old. Currently, I'm interested in professional practice and on IP, labor, and employment, medical malpractice, torts. I need to work if admitted in my current profession to pay bills, including all loans. I would like to attend a part-time program with funding. What is your best suggestion to emphasize my law school applicant, part-time attendee, no summer employment, professional, I'm interested in law firm work. Ultimately thinking that I would like to be in a small to moderate sized firm in the Midwest, preferably. Thank you in advance for your time and thoughts. Okay, so if you want to go to law school at 65, it means you're going to graduate when you're almost 70. A lot of law firms have not as much anymore, but they have actually mandatory retirement at the age of 60. So if you're applying to law school just now, I think law school is interesting. I think you can learn a lot of things. I think it can help you think. I think it's difficult and a good experience to go through. And I think that you can enjoy it and learn. But at the same time, I'm just telling people, that everything that I've talked about so far makes it very difficult to be a attorney from a foreign country, and also to be U.S. and attorney that didn't. Anyway, it's for a different practice setting. What is my suggestion? My first thing, the good news is yes, you can go to law school and get your law degree and graduate in 70 and get a job, because law firms are businesses. People will hire you, and you will probably find law school interesting. But this saying you're interested in these practice areas, it's okay, but preferably you would pick one of these. Like, you can't just say, I'm interested in employment, medical malpractice, and IP labor. And you have to, these are two, there's nothing wrong with that. But the first thing I'd like to say is no one that goes into law school should know what they want to do. You come out of law school and you have an idea of what you want to do, but you don't necessarily do that. Now, if you want to do medical malpractice torts, you can do that. But law schools, you may get admitted, and law schools are businesses. They make money on your tuition, so you can certainly get admitted. But I will say, and it's never too late to be an attorney, and attorneys do practice into their 80s. So you certainly can have a career doing it, and enjoy yourself. But I would say when you come out of law school and take the bar, you can work for law firms in the summer. But keep in mind that you're going to be competing with people that are almost 50 years younger than you. And it's just something to think about. I don't know that it's a bad thing, right? It's a great thing going to law school. I just think it would be very difficult for you. But you may be interested, but it's just so competitive. Even attorneys that are, let me see here. This person says, here we go. I'm a foreign lawyer, was working at a law firm in Europe, a real estate transactional attorney for 3 years. And I come to the US to do an LLM at the California bar. Right now, I'm working for a boutique law firm in LA as a law clerk while waiting for the bar results, but I'm doing litigation, some corporate jobs. I want to find a job. It was a transaction attorney at a big firm, but I'm not getting an interview to go in a position at a large law firm. No, so this is the same thing. So no, I'm just not going to get a law firm. LLMs are not going to get jobs in the US in big law firms as corporate attorneys because they're competing with US attorneys. So why would a law firm hire a foreign attorney to do work when they can hire attorneys from US law firms? Come on, from the US. Why would you do it? Would you hire, if you were you were an attorney in Rome, a law firm in Rome, would you hire an attorney from the US that came over and got some degree, like the University of Rome, like some postgraduate degree, and didn't speak English as a first? No. So no, you're not. I'm sorry to be rude, but I'm not trying to be rude. You can potentially try to get a job in a big law firm. It happens. But why would a law firm interview and hire you when they can hire people from the US? They have no reason to. So your only way to do it is to go and look at smaller markets. That's it. So you don't, or smaller firms. You can't reasonably expect a large law firm to hire you just because you came over here. They have to get you work papers. They have to do all this sort of stuff. So it just doesn't happen. I've seen people like you get jobs. I'm not saying they don't, but it's just too difficult and it's too much to overcome for a law firm. Why would they do it? I've seen them do it. Now, what do you do that's smart? If I was you, I would actually, the LLM, I would try to go to a real law school in the US and JD. People that do that seem to think they do pretty well, because once you get the JD, so this is just advice for foreign LLMs, and I'm going to kind of, if you come to the US and you get an LLM, pretty much meaningless. It allows you to take the bar and stuff. But if you come to the US and you get an LLM and then you take a JD, and then you did really well in your JD program, like you're the top of your class or something, then law firms will be very interested in you, regardless of the fact you're from a foreign country, because you're showing you can compete against other US attorneys and do well, or pre-attorneys, and they will be interested in you. And then they'll suddenly love your foreign experience and stuff. And you will be much better positioned than you would be for just an LLM. That's my advice. All right. So I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you everyone for being on this webinar. And these things are long. And I'm very impressed people are able to stay so long in this. And I hope this information was helpful. I was able to get to all your questions today, which I was happy about. I know it wasn't last week. By the way, there wasn't an announcement that went out for this last time to people. There was an announcement to law firms, but this was actually a law firm webinar, which I don't do as often, but I'm glad everyone was here. And I'll just say that this information that we cover today is just profound. It's able to show you if you're LLM how to get a job. It's able to show you if you're an attorney in a law firm or not in a law firm, how to get into a law firm and what to do. And just really all around good information. And I commend everyone that was on this call today or webinar for showing up. This was good stuff. And I will say that my life as a professional has been changed when I have exposed myself to things like this in my profession, whether it's learning how to manage people or the things that are important to me. So I, again, commend you for being on this. I think learning this sort of information is invaluable, can change your life. Just what you learned today and change the whole course of your career. Nice work. And thank you. And I do this, by the way, at the same time every week. If everyone is on this today, I'll at the same time. So thanks for being here.